Joshua the son of Nun, Joshua bin Nun. He was the assistant of Moses. He may in many ways be considered prototype of the Messiah, son of Joseph. Joshua was from the tribe of Ephraim. It was originally known as Hosea or Hoshea, but Moses changed the name to Joshua. In Hebrew, Yehoshua. Joshua became a dedicated assistant of Moses when prophets other than Moses arose among the people. Prophets other than Moses, without the permission of Moses, arose among the people and began to prophesy. Joshua urged Moses to have them incarcerated, to put them in jail. Moses, however, refused. See Numbers 28. So too the Amalekites. The Amalekites were descendants of Edom, and in the Bible they are described as the arch enemies of Israel. They attacked Israel when Israel was in its travels through the wilderness. After Israel had come out of Egypt, they began to move through the wilderness. They were attacked by the Amalekites, and Joshua led the Hebrews to fight, to go to war against the Amalekites, while Moses prayed. Moses took care of the spiritual side of matters, whereas Joshua led the fighting. Upon approaching the land of Canaan, when the Israelites were coming close to the land of Canaan, it's decided to send spies into the land, 12 spies, one for each tribe. Joshua from Ephraim and Caleb ben Yefuneh from Judah each brought back a positive report, whereas the remaining 10 were all negative. So too, nowadays there are numerous nations with substantial numbers of Israelites, descendants of Israelites from the lost 10 tribes among them, who are not aware of it, or on the whole they are not aware of it. And these nations include France, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the USA, and others. And many of these nations are often critical of Israel, even when there's no justification for it. They automatically have an inclination to be against the state of Israel. Whereas amongst English-speaking peoples, it's often more balanced. The USA is often the friend of Israel, sometimes only a friend that Israel had, or so it seems. Whereas Britain and other Israelite nations tend to at least be fair on the whole. So they too are showing this aspect of Ephraim. We find with Joshua ben Nun. So that Joshua ben Nun took a positive attitude towards entering the land, towards the virtues of the land, and also in regards to fighting in protection of the land. Joshua, the son of Nun, may be considered a prototype of the Messiah, son of Joseph, and a representative of the lost 10 tribes in general. Joshua was the assistant of Moses, was from the tribe of Ephraim, and he, together with Caleb ben Yefuneh from the tribe of Judah, he brought back a favorable report concerning the land, whereas the other tribes did not. The 12 tribes were sent to spy out the land. Joshua and Caleb brought back favorable reports, whereas the others did not. So these tribes, in some sense, they represent their descendants. There are many nations, several nations with large numbers of the lost 10 tribes amongst them. Most of them are not aware of the Hebrew origins. Some of them are hostile towards the concept. These nations include the UK, that is Scotland, England, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. They include Ireland itself, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the USA. And these nations are often, not always, but often critical of the state of Israel, sometimes hostile to the state of Israel, whereas those who are descendants of Ephraim tend to be more favorable towards the state of Israel. By Ephraim, we mean in English-speaking nations from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. And so these other nations, these other Israelite nations, when they're critical, unjustly critical of the state of Israel, or even when justly so, they are reflecting their ancestors of the tribes, of the spies who brought back an evil report concerning a land and almost brought disaster upon the whole community. And those who are in favor of the Jews and the state of Israel are repeating the actions of Caleb ben Yefuneh from the tribe of Judah and of Joshua ben Nun from the tribe of Ephraim. Joshua ben Nun may be considered a prototype of the future Messiah, son of Joseph, who will initiate the return, who will fight wars against the heathen, who will fight wars on behalf of the Jews, and he will also initiate the return of the Jews, help the Jews return to the land and help them rebuild up the land. He will also bring his subjects, members of the lost 10 tribes, to recognize their Israelite ancestry. And he will initiate the recognition that each one of them will have concerning what tribe they belong to. This recognition will be completed by the Messiah, son of David, who will come later. And the USA, first Britain was in favor of the Jews settling in the land. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 led to the Jews setting up the infrastructure for the future state of Israel. And after that, after Israel received its independence, this support was continued to some degree by Britain, and after that, in a much greater way, by the USA, who helped the Jews to a very great degree. They have helped the state of Israel to a very great degree, and they are fulfilling the role of the Messiah, son of Joseph, and of the lost 10 tribes, according to traditions, rabbinical traditions based on the Bible. And this in its own right is a proof that they are descendant of Israel. This is a proof in its own right that these peoples are descended from the tribes of Israel. So when the 12 spies were sent out to examine the land, only Joshua ben Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh brought back positive reports. Would be the major elements amongst the tribes of Israel who would initiate the resettlement of descendants of Israel in the land of Israel. Joshua was from the tribe of Ephraim. He became a student and assistant of Moses, who's from the tribe of Levi. The Levites were the tribe of priests. Amongst the Levites, you also had the Kohanim, who were a subsection of Levi, who were more concerned with priestly duties. And they may be associated more with Judah. The Levites had been scattered throughout the other tribes. But when Jeroboam ben Nebat of Ephraim led the 10 tribes to separate from Judah. He also instituted new forms of worship. He set up golden calves in Dan and in Dan and Bethel. He told the people to worship them. And he demoted the Levites, so the Levites left the northern kingdom and they moved to Judah. They became part of the Jewish people. So that actually in Judah you had 3 tribes. You had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And also had segments from the other tribes, refugees who also reached Judah. And according to tradition, many Talmudic sages, some say all of them, or a great number amongst them, were from the tribe of Levi, and they helped reconstruct Judaism after the division, and helped give rise to Judaism. They were very important. So we'll read out the section concerning the war that Joshua led together with Moses against the Amalekites, and we will see a few other points of pertinence on this matter. So Exodus 17, verse 8 onwards, it says, Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, pick men for us and go out and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. Joshua did as Moses had told him to fight against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur ascended to the top of the hill. Hur was another assistant of Moses. Hur was from the tribe of Judah. So here we have Ephraim and Joshua, Levi and Moses, and Hur of Judah, all arraigned against Amalek. And it came to pass, verse 17 onwards, and it came to pass that when Moses would raise his hand, Israel would prevail, and when he would lay down his hand, Amalek would prevail. So Moses' hands were heavy, so they took a stone and placed it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur supported his hands, and from this side, one from this side and one from that side. And so he was with his hands on in faith until sunset. Joshua weakened Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. The Lord said to Moses, inscribe this as a memorial in the book and recite it into Joshua's ears, that I will surely obliterate the remembrance of Amalek from beneath the heavens. Then Moses built an altar and he named it, the Lord is my miracle. And he said, well, there is a hand on the throne of the Eternal, that there shall be a war for the Lord against Amalek from generation to generation. So there we have Joshua and Moses and Hur going to war against Amalek on behalf of all Israel. Joshua and Caleb being the only ones to support the entrance to the land in the case of the spies. And eventually Joshua was to lead the Israelites in the conquest of Canaan. Joshua was to lead them in this conquest. And Joshua is a foreshadowing, a pre-adumbration of the Messiah, son of Joseph. Messiah, son of Joseph in the end times will lead the 10 tribes. He will lead the 10 tribes who will initiate or begin to inculcate amongst them the concept, the recognition that they too are descended from Israel. And you will fight against the enemies of the Jews and enemies of Israel. And you will help the Jews to rebuild the land. And after him will come the Messiah, son of David, who will complete his work. Messiah, son of David, will enable each Israelite to know which tribe they belong to, and you will bring all of the tribes back and resettle them in the greater land of Israel. And he will restore their faith in the God Almighty. Also, the lands they now dwell in will be counted as parts of the land of Israel towards the end times. Thank you. May the Lord God of Israel bless you.